Chair recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Swalwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Mr. Secretary, thank you for your attention and your agency's hard work on this crisis. And I just want to go through a few questions. And first, would you agree, Mr. Secretary, that we have a broken immigration system in the United States?
Yes.
And would you agree that because we have a broken immigration system, because there is great uncertainty about our immigration system, that in this chaos, this crisis with unaccompanied minor children has occurred?
I wouldn't put it exactly that way, but I do believe that uncertainty in the law and uncertainty that I believe the smuggling organizations are creating is a reason for the recent influx.
And Mr. Secretary, you would agree that this crisis and the attention that your Border Patrol agents has had to give to these children has diverted away from their attention to securing the rest of our southern border?
As I mentioned a moment ago, that is an issue that I'm constantly focused on to make sure that that doesn't happen. As I think the Deputy Chief's comments reflect, we've surged a lot of resources into the Rio Grande Valley sector to make sure that everybody remains focused on their job, in addition to dealing with the recent increase, to process people through the system, as well as maintaining our presence on the border. And I believe we're continuing to do that.
And Ms. Miller, my colleague from Michigan, placed this crisis and its blame squarely at the feet of President Obama's DACA program, the Deferred Action Program. And that was implemented in 2012. Is that correct?
DACA was implemented in June 2012.
And here we are where the peak levels of unaccompanied children migration is occurring in 2014. Is that right?
Yes, and DACA is intended for kids who came into this country 7 or more years ago.
And if Ms. Miller is indeed right that this is squarely the President's fault because of DACA, wouldn't you have expected to see these peak levels of children coming across the border perhaps in 2012 or 2013 rather than now? So I guess I'm asking, is it fair to solely place this on DACA, or is this something much more complicated?
Well, let me be clear. I believe first and foremost, and I believe most people believe first and foremost, from everything I've heard, everything I've seen, and from my own conversations with these children, that the principal reason they are leaving their countries is the conditions in those countries. They are really bad. It has to be really bad for a parent to want to part company with his or her own 7-year-old. That is the principal reason we're seeing this. I do also believe that the smuggling organizations are creating a misinformation campaign about the legal situation in this country. It's in their interest to create that misinformation, and I believe they are, and I believe, therefore, it's imperative for us to correct the record about what is available and what is not to somebody who crosses the border.
And Mr. Secretary, that you would agree there are some short-term and long-term solutions to what we can do. And a short-term solution would be something that you have already done, which is writing an open letter to the parents of children crossing our southwest border to dispel the myths about what it means to come here and the dangers that the children will go through in their path.
If this administration's policies were the principal reason they were coming here, then you'd see kids from a whole bunch of other countries too.
And would you agree another short-term solution would be working, as the President and the Vice President have been doing so, to work with Mexico and Guatemala on that much smaller border between Mexico and Guatemala, in addition to working on our much more vast border?
Yes.
And Mr. Secretary, would you agree that a long-term solution would be putting certainty in our immigration policy so that there are not misconceptions as to what it means to children anywhere across the world?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. And with that, I yield back the balance of my time.